clear, structured way. So we expect that by attending a presentation, then we can get a clear information, or clear message about something. Yeah. So we do not expect that after listening to a presentation or attending a presentation, then the audience will become confused or something like that. So it means that it is a communication that can be adapted to various speaking situations. Live, yeah, because now in the period of pandemic of COVID-19, then it is not possible for us to have a live program or virtually like now across a video conference. So both situations can be of difference in terms of how to treat the audience and how to deliver the information to the audience. Then making a presentation is a way of communicating your thoughts. Thoughts here is something that is in your mind, or everything in your mind. Yeah. Concepts, ideas to the audience. Yeah. This is the definition or the concept of presentation. So far, maybe some of you have questions about the concept of presentation. Moderator, maybe you can identify, is there, or are there any questions about this? So far, no questions yet?
Not yet.
Not yet, okay. The next point is the purpose. Yeah. The purpose, or we can say the objective, or the goal, or the aim of making a presentation. The first is to convince. Yeah. To convince means we want to make sure some other people about a concept, about the concept or information we are delivering. Yeah. It is a kind of persuasive presentation, and the goal is to change the attitudes. Attitude is something that is in your mind, yeah, and the beliefs or the values or judgment of your audience. Yeah. The example is that if you believe that, oh, this is not correct or not true, and then you give a presentation by providing evidence, by providing facts, by providing results of scientific investigations, so that you can change the attitudes or the beliefs that somebody has had before. Yeah. An example is that kind of prosecutor, yeah? Prosecutor in a court, or maybe on the other hand is the lawyer, yeah, of a client in a court. It is a kind of presenting information so that other people or the opponent will be sure that, oh, you are right, or the information you gave is correct. Yeah. So that this is to convince other people or the audience. And the second is to instruct or to call for action. Yeah. In this type of presentation, you are calling your audience to act. You are stating that it's not about stimulating interest or to reinforce or accentuate beliefs or convincing an audience of a viewpoint that you hold, but instead you want to see your listeners to change their behavior. Sometimes, what is it? It is just like a commercial on TV, like in the middle of the evening, for example, you just wake up and got up from your sleep, and you listen to a TV commercial, and then you listen to it seriously, Then what is it? Some moments later, you just take your mobile phone and then you do something following the instruction given by the presenter on the commercial on TV. This is um, to uh, to call for an action. Another example is that introducing the danger of global warming, for example, then it invites people around the world uh, to act in accordance with the recommendation given by uh, the presenter or the speaker because of the evidence and then statistical analysis, the result of studies and so on, so that people will change their behavior to minimize the level of global warming progress in accordance with the viewpoints or the information delivered by the presenter. The third purpose is to inform. Yeah, to inform. Yeah. Like today, mostly my presentation is intended to inform. Yeah, to inform you. It is focused on helping the audience to understand a topic, issue, or techniques more clearly.
Excuse me,
And
Mr. Son.
yes, yes.
Would you like please to enlarge the slideshow, please?
Uh, this is not possible. Okay.
Oh, it's not possible.
This one? Like this?
Yes,
Is
sure.
it?
Thank you, Mr.
Uh,
Sono.
okay, thank you. Yeah. The last purpose of making a presentation is to actuate. Yeah. To actuate means like if you are talking about what is it? Control valve, for example. In process industry. We have a kind of part in a control valve called the actuator. Yeah. The actuator means that something that can something else to move, to energize, and so on. Yeah. So that it can open or close the valve. Yeah. This is an actuator. This is a presentation to actuate people, designed to motivate particular behaviors. Yeah. Yeah, it is quite what's it difficult to acquire this kind of actuating presentation. Yeah, somebody like Mario Teguh, for example, yeah, is very talented in making a presentation to actuate people. Yeah, so to design to motivate people to change their behavior in accordance with the stimulation given by the presenter. Well, that's the purpose. Now, the next question is, so what, like the title of this training is making effective presentations. What is actually an effective presentation? What is a presentation so that it is called an effective presentation? It's not efficient presentation, but effective. Yeah, effective. If we talk about, oh, this medicine is very effective for this disease, for example. It means that by taking the medicine, then you can cure the disease. So you regain your health, for example. You are healthy again. This is that the medicine is effective. Then effective presentation is, of course, the presentation that can shoot the goal, yeah, that can attain or what's it, successful in attaining the goal. so that the goal can be achieved. Yeah. For example, if your presentation is to give information to the audience, then after the presentation, the audience could get clear picture of your information, then it is considered or it is concluded that your presentation is effective. Yeah. On the other hand, if the audience didn't get the information you are presenting quite successfully, then your presentation is considered unsuccessful or not effective. So this is effective here is related to the goal that you have set up before you deliver your presentation. Now how to come to an effective presentation? There are some key components. This is not these are not the only keys or key components. There might be some other components contributing to the effectiveness of presentation. The first is the content. Yeah. So before you give a presentation or you make a presentation, you have to decide what is the content of your presentation. Content here is the information related to purpose. Yeah. So that the purpose is what? Yeah. You are going to do what? Yeah. So what you are going to do here is what's it? Materialized in the material or in the content of your presentation. And also, on the other hand, you have also to consider the need of the presenter. The need of the audience is also one of elements to be considered in designing the content of your presentation. And the content must be simple. Yeah. Simple here doesn't mean that reducing the, what is it, intensity or the content of the information, but the job of the presenter is to make complicated information more simple so that it will be easier for the audience to digest. Yeah. Not on the other hand, not on the contrary, that you make the simple information to be more complicated so that it is difficult for the audience to digest your information. And the information you are going to present should be designed in a systematic order. Yeah. So what component of information should come first, and then second, third, and so on. Yeah. And it should be clear too. Yeah. This is related to the content. So we focus on the purpose and the need of the audience. The second is related to design. Design here is related to visual support. Yeah. Visual support like PowerPoint presentation, or present PowerPoint, for example. And you have to provide maybe pictures and then supporting diagram or graphs and so on. Yeah. Then it should be helping the presenter to make the presentation more interesting and clearer. Then the context, context here is related to whether the situation you are going to present your information is formal or less formal, because it will be different in how you deliver your presentation. Then the next is the presenter itself, you yourself or we ourselves, yeah, the presenter. do not say that presenting or making a presentation is just reading the written language. It is not actually. Yeah. It must be spoken language. There are some differences between spoken language and written language. Yeah. The written language is usually composed of longer construction of sentences. It's more complicated in structure, for example. But the spoken language is usually composed of short sentences. Sometimes you can, repeat a piece of sentence to, to emphasize a kind of point, for example. So spoken language here must be short. Yeah. So because it is short, it is easier for the audience to digest. Yeah. It is just like, eating instant noodles, for example. Spoken language is kind of instant noodles that cut into shorter pieces so that it is easier for you to eat. Yeah. But if it is long, for example, then you cannot, treat it so that it is not quite easy for you to eat. So the words must be able to fly, to fly, just like a kind of a butterfly, from the mind manifested in the spoken language of the speaker, fly and then land on the mind of the audience, and it will be digested by the audience. This is a spoken language. That is why, related to the visual support here, please do not make too much information in one slide, and make sure that the font size of your presentation PowerPoint or Medium quite large, a minimum of usually 16 point in font size. Like I use this minimum of 20, 22 font size. The next is audience. Yeah, the audience. The audience are not just like a blank paper. Yeah, they have experience already, and knowledge and personal values. So that you have to consider this. Yeah. So, but this is the the shortage of presentation or communication like this today, because I do not know exactly, and we are not communicating in face to face, so that I cannot judge about the experience of the audience, the knowledge that you have had, and personal value. The next is the message. Yeah. Not only spoken words, but also body language. Yeah. Body language. It means that message should be transmitted through spoken words, supported by body language. In making a presentation, you are not advised to stay still at one single point from the beginning to the end. So you have to move from one point of place in the room of the presentation to another position. Yeah. Your your hand, your facial expressions, your eyes can be used to support your presentation. The next is the reaction. Yeah. Reaction is affected by the way you deliver the presentation. Of course, people are usually get bored after listening to one person for about 15 minutes in the real, I mean, in a live presentation, so that we can have a kind of shifting of tone, for example, or a kind of making a kind of joke, but in a short period of time, of course, just uh, to change the atmosphere of the presentation affected by the what is it, the condition of the uh, audience. Yeah. The next is the delivery. Yeah. This is a direct or online or recorded. Like now it is online, so that the maybe the level of the effectiveness of the presentation can be a little bit relatively decreasing, yeah, compared to the live or direct presentation. And the last is the impediments. Impediments means the factors affecting effectiveness of presentation, like noise, for example. If we are having an online like presentation like now, maybe it is affected by the quality of the signal in communication, internet communication, or connection, and so on. This is what we call impediments. Yeah. So far, any questions, Mas Praditya?
Any question for the participants? If you have any questions, you can unmute your microphone by yourself and then deliver the question to Mr. Sono directly. Thank you. Maybe not yet, sir.
Not yet. Yeah. Okay. Let me finish. Continue my presentation. Yeah. Now, again, that this is a presentation. Of course, it doesn't mean that after attending this session or this training, then you will be able to give a presentation effectively. One thing that you have to possess before you deliver a presentation in English is the language mastery itself, of course. Yeah. So, because a presentation is considered to be a kind of what is it, a little bit advanced level of language skills. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Some students in my class are trying to be a good presenter, yeah. And some of them are successful, and some of them are still needing to improve their English. Actually, I have some what's it, some examples of presentations made by my students, and I asked them to post their presentation on YouTube. So if you, I think you can what is it, explore YouTube and to find some examples of presentation posted by some of my students. Before you start a presentation, think or consider some points like this. Yeah. The first is the first 4 minutes. Yeah. This is a magic moment, people say. Yeah. Some people say that the first 4 minutes is a magic moment. Yeah, magic moment. It means that if you come to the venue of a presentation, yeah, and you are in front of the audience, the message is that you have to make use of your first 4 minutes. Do not waste the first 4 minutes. You have to use it efficiently. You have to use it successfully. Yeah. It is used to express who you are, yeah, to deliver the impression about you, yeah, so that the audience will be, what's it, quite, what's it, convinced, yeah, or that, oh, I'm listening to the correct, to the right presenter. Yeah. But if you are not successful in using the first 4 minutes when you are in front of the audience, then it will what is it? It will influence the success of your presentation throughout the session of your presentation. But again, that this concept of first 4 minutes is not only important in making a presentation, but also in some other cases or occasions of communication with other people. So, like the commercial statement of deodorant, something product. Kesan pertama begitu menggoda, ya, selanjutnya terserah Anda. It means that this is the idea of the first 4 minutes. This is the what they call golden moment, yeah, in communication. So you have to make use of the first 4 minutes of communication you have with other people. And the next is the self-confidence. Yeah, self-confidence. Self-confidence can be built. Yeah. It is a kind of skill. Yeah. So skill can be developed. Yeah. It cannot be obtained suddenly. Yeah. But it is acquired through practice. Yeah. Through practice. So the more you practice, the more confident you will be. Yeah. Some of my students told me that, yeah, after practicing 3 or 4 times in class to give a presentation, then I could feel that the the condition of being nervous, is getting less and less, and less. Then after that, you will be self-confident in making a presentation. Of course, self-confidence is also influenced by whether you are giving a presentation to a small number of audience or big number of audience. Yeah, it will be different, of course. But if you have developed your confidence by practicing again and again, then it is not a big matter for you to deal with a big number of audience. And the next is eye contact. Yeah. Eye contact is very important because in Chinese saying, your eye can speak more than thousands of words. Yeah. Your eye can speak more than 1,000 words. Yeah. It means that you can communicate more effectively with your eyes. So before you start to speak, make sure that you can see, you can communicate with the audience with your eyes by sweeping the everybody's face in the room, in the auditorium or presentation scene. Remember that if you want to, for example, to see somebody personally, then do not look at the same person in more than 2 seconds. Yeah. So otherwise, person will be insulted. Yeah, will be not quite convenient because of you look at one single person for a longer period of time. Yeah. So 2 seconds, yeah, maximum is good to see one person, for example. Yeah. And of course, you have to distribute your eye contact throughout the presentation, throughout the audience. Do not look at a certain portion of the audience, one corner of the room of the presentation. So you have to distribute your attention by distributing your eye contact throughout the audience. Yeah. And by making your eye contact, then you are trying to be involved. Yeah. So you are involved in the audience. And of course, the audience is involved in you, yeah, so that the communication can be successful, yeah, because involvement will increase the success of the communication. For example, if somebody is, what is it, a little bit sleepy or not quite, and then you can just approach the person indirectly, of course, yeah, so that uh, he or she will feel that, oh, I'm paid attention by the presenter and so on, so that you will maintain the involvement of the audience in your presentation. And the last issue is the body language. Body language, like your eyes is also part of your body language. Yeah. Your hand, yeah. Like the position of you standing in the venue of the presentation. And again, this is a kind of a position of your hands, for example. Yeah. Do not what is it? Fold your hands in front of the of your body, for example, like this. It is it gives what is it? Different meaning. Yeah. For example, or maybe you put your both of your hands inside your pocket, or even you put your hands in the back of your body. Yeah. But just act normally. Yeah. You can free to move, and then you can free to move your hands to support your what is it your presentation and so on. So just make use of your part of your body to support your presentation. But again, that please do not make too much, what is it, too much movement. Yeah, too much movement is not good, of course. Yeah, so it is just a normal movement of your hands, your body, and so on. It doesn't mean that you have to move all the time from one position to another throughout the presentation session, but make movement as necessary. Yeah. So you can maintain the involvement of the audience in your presentation. Next is this is the tips. Yeah, is the tips of the how to make effective presentation. Yeah, this is the structure of presentation. Structure here doesn't mean that it is related to present tense, past tense, or something like that. But this is the structure of the information. The structure of the information. What should come first? What should come later? And what should come at the end of your presentation? This is what we mean by presentation. Because if you mix up your information, then the simple information will become complicated and difficult to understand. On the other hand, if you make it in a structured way, in a systematic way of delivery, then maybe the information is actually relatively difficult or complicated, but you can make it more simple and easier for the audience to digest or to understand. This is the idea of a structure of presentation. So your presentation will be easily understood by the audience if it is presented systematically by following a good structure of presentation. And this is a typical structure of effective presentation. The first is the introduction. The second is the body of a presentation. And the last is the conclusion. And sometimes we have what we call question and answer session, but this is, in my opinion, it is outside the main part of the presentation. Like in this session, after I conclude my presentation, then there will be question and answer session so that everybody can ask questions. In some cases, a presenter might give information to the audience that during my presentation, please just feel free to ask questions. Feel free to interrupt me, so that the question can be given along the process of the presentation. But be careful if you do this. It means that you have ample time. You have a lot of time to give your presentation. But if you have a limited and schedule tightly schedule, so that please do not try to invite audience to interrupt you along the time of your presentation. Otherwise, you will not be able to finish your presentation. So it is again dependent on the judgment of the presenter, whether you will offer the opportunity to the audience to interrupt you or invite them to give their questions at the end or after the presentation is concluded. Yeah. Now, let us move on to the next, the stage of introduction. Yeah, this is the stages in introduction. Yeah. What you have to do in introduction is the greeting and welcoming the audience, like I did at the beginning of my presentation today. Yeah, I give you good morning or assalamualaikum and so on. Yeah. And personal introduction if necessary. Sometimes your personal data has been, delivered or introduced by the moderator, so that you do not need to introduce yourself again. Yeah. And the second is very important, yeah. Stating or introducing the topic of your presentation. It is an important point that you do not miss. Yeah. Please do not miss this point. State or introduce the topic of your presentation, yeah, so that the audience will understand where they are going to, where the presenter is going to, and so on. Yeah. Whether they are at the correct place of the presentation or not. Yeah. And then the third is giving the background. It is if it is necessary. If not, then you just skip this step. Yeah. And stating the objectives. Yeah, yeah. It is an important point that you do not miss. You do not have to miss. Yeah. So you have to say this, state the objectives. Like at the beginning of my presentation today, I also give the objectives to give the concept or practice and to the audience to be able to present an effective presentation. And the last stage is outlining your presentation. Outlining means that what the main points of your presentations, yeah, the main points of your information that you are going to present, you are going to deliver, you are going to give to the audience, so that the audience will have a kind of picture in their mind. Oh, after this, and then we are going to listen to this point, and at the end, we are going to have this point, so that they have the picture of the general picture of what they are going to listen during the presentation session. Yeah, here are the expressions. Yeah, this is the tips, for example. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I give this symbol because it can be afternoon or can be evening, yeah, but not say good night, because good night is to end your presentation. Yeah, some of my students are still confused in using good evening and good night. So please do not say good night when you begin your presentation. Otherwise, your audience will just go out from the room. Yeah. You can say You can also say, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, not like this. Yeah, some people say ladies, not ladies, but ladies. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. Or you can say, good morning, guys. If the situation or the context is not very formal, like giving a kind of safety talk, for example, before you as a supervisor start your job with the group of shifts. You can say, good afternoon, guys. Yeah. Long time ago in the past, the word guys were referred to gentlemen only, but now the word guys is used for or is used to refer to both ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and so on. You can say hi if the situation is not very formal. Or you can say Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Please remember, in using this expression, the intonation is, what is it, affecting the framework you are going to use. If you like, what is it, da'i, for example, then the way to pronounce Assalamualaikum will be different from the way somebody you're going to give a presentation. Just a normal intonation. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And this is the, what's it, normal way for presenter to begin the presentation. And welcome to my presentation. Welcome to my class. Yeah. And if it is possible, because you haven't been introduced by the moderator, for example, you can say, for example, I just pick one name. I'm Muhammad Razid, for example, and I work for ExxonMobil in the production department. Yeah, we use the word for here, not in. Yeah, in is usually used for the part or the division in a company. So, like, I'm a lecturer for Pembelajaran. Yeah, and I work for Pembelajaran, or I teach at Pembelajaran. Yeah, but not in. In here is for the division in one company. Yeah. These are the what is it, expressions that can be used to greet and welcome the audience at the beginning of your presentation. Of course, there might be possible for you to use some other expressions. Next is introducing the topic of the presentation. Please do not miss this. Yeah. You have to do this. Yeah. You have to state your topic, yeah, to the audience. Yeah. These expressions have about the same meaning. The objective is to introduce the topic of the presentation. So just feel free to take one of them. Just do not take two in one occasion. If the situation is, or the context, is quite formal, then the expression in first expression here is usually used. Yeah, it's an honor for me to be with you today to have a discussion on new methods of oil and gas separation, for example. This it symbolizes that the situation is a little bit more formal. Yeah. But for example, say the topic of my presentation today is new methods of oil and gas separation. Then this is just most presenter used to introduce the topic of presentation. Or you can also say, today I'd like to talk to you about. I'd like to talk to you about new methods of oil and gas separation. Or in my presentation today, I would like to present. Please not say to present it. Some of my students said presented. No, because presentation is from the verb present, yeah, not presented. Yeah, there is no word such called presented, yeah, but present, deliver, make. Yeah. So in my presentation today, I'd like to present new methods of oil and gas separation. Or today I'm going to talk about new methods of oil and gas separation. Or we can, sometimes if you feel that you want to be, what is it, staying at the same level of the audience. Yeah. So you can use the last expression to introduce the topic. Yeah. Today I'd like to share my knowledge and experience about blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it means that you position yourself at the same level of your audience. Yeah. Yeah. And so the decision is on you, of course. Yeah, to choose one of. And of course, there might be possible for you to use some other expression if you are advanced already. Of course, there are some variations. And then giving the background here. It is giving a background is optional, so you can use it or not. Yeah. If it is important for you that why you present this topic to the audience, then you can explain the background. But if not, then just skip it. And the objective is important to say. The objectives of my presentation today are firstly to introduce blah, blah, blah. The second is blah, blah, blah. And finally, to give the recommendation about blah, blah. It depends on the content of the presentation you have developed. And outlining is important. Yeah, I have divided my presentation into 3 parts. First is the second, so that it will give the the global information about what you are going to talk about. Yeah. So that the audience can follow step by step. Oh, this is the second, I think, and this is the third and the last. And so that it is important for you to share with the audience about this is the outline. Yeah. The next here is the presenting body of presentation. Presenting the body of presentation. Yeah. First is introduce the first point of your presentation. And the next is explain and elaborate the point as comprehensively as possible. And refer to pictures, visual graph that you have developed as the supporting media for presentation. And provide examples and sum up the point and link to the next point. What I want to say is that this tip is used for you to give the signal to the audience when you are going to begin presenting or discussing a certain point, and when you have finished describing a point, and when you are going to turn or to move to another point. Making a kind of presentation like this is just like in our daily life when you are driving a car, for example, on the road, or driving a motorcycle on the road. This is what we call signaling. Signaling is giving a signal. Maybe you have experience in your daily life when you are driving a motorcycle, driving a car on the road, and there are many, motorists or travelers over there. And you can, observe that somebody is sometimes quite careless, for example. making a turn without giving a signal to the other motorists, for example, including you, so that you are not quite ready when somebody in front of you was making a turn to the right, for example. So you will be startled, or shocked, for example, or surprised, knowing that somebody was turning to the right without giving a signal, for example. Or maybe like when you are using, what is it, kind of public transport, a bus, for example. Then the driver suddenly, slow down the speed and then make a sharp turn, for example, so that all the passengers inside the bus uh, was surprised, for example. This is what we call that if you are making a presentation, it means that you are like a driver, so that you have to make your audience as the passengers to be, comfortable. So that if you are going to start, then you give the signal, starting the first point. And if you have finished the description or the explanation of the first point, then you give the signal. Yeah. And when you are going to move to another point of the presentation, then you give the signal that you are going. Just like when you are driving your car or your motorcycle on the, giving signals to other people around you on the road. And again, that one of the language function is to accompany actions, because you are making use of language to accompany your action. Then you have to use the language when you are going to make an action, that the audience is ready to follow what action you are going to take next. This is the idea. Yeah. When you are going to refer to pictures, just do not just show the picture, but well, ladies and gentlemen, please just have a look at this picture. So your action is accompanied by a language, words or sentence or utterance. These are the expressions that you may use. For example, if you are going to begin the first point of your presentation, then, well, let's start with the first point of my presentation, the blah, blah, blah. Why I use well, not okay? Some people will say use okay. Some people will say well. Well, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, because mostly I've referred to the formal situation, then I use the expression well here, because the word okay is usually referred to the less formal situation. So when you are talking or giving a presentation in a relatively formal situation, please just minimize the use of the word okay, but you can say well, or you can also say first I'd like to talk to you about. Do not say I want to, but you say I'd like to, but because I want to is a little bit not quite formal or polite, but you can say I'd like to talk to you about. First of all, the expression first of all is the oldest expression, I think. In bahasa Indonesia, sometimes we say pertama-tama. Although this expression in bahasa Indonesia is not standard, pertama-tama. Jadi bahasa Indonesia itu kalau saya lihat kamus itu kata ta itu kok tidak saya temukan. Jadi tapi di dalam ekspresi orang berpidato atau berpresentasi itu mengatakan pertama-tama, tapi karena kita sudah terbiasa dengan itu, jadi kita sudah tidak hirau lagi apakah pertama-tama itu ada dalam bahasa resmi bahasa Indonesia atau tidak. So, it's first of all, I'd like to explain. Do not say about in the word explain or discuss. First of all, I'd like to explain. Do not say I'd like to explain you. No, explain you. The audience not need to be explained, but you need to explain the topic. Please explain me, not explain me, but explain to me. Do not use about, because explain here refer to about. If you want to use about, then let me talk about. I'd like to talk about. But explain the effectiveness of communication, for example. Do not say I would like to explain about the effectiveness of communication, but I'd like to explain the effectiveness of, or I'd like to explain to you a concept of what is it, plastic money or something like that. Or you can also say, to begin with, I'd like to discuss the importance of blah, blah, blah. So to begin with, it is rarely used. The last expression here is rarely used. But the meanings of the expressions here are the same. Just to introduce the first point. Next is explaining the point. Below are some useful tips. You can start with a definition or the meaning of keywords and then elaborate them more. Remember that sometimes somebody is talking about a control valve, for example, a pump, for example. Today, I'd like to give an explanation on control valve. And before the speaker goes to the description of the control valve, he doesn't give the definition or the concept of what a control valve is actually. Or when somebody is talking about like a centrifugal pump, for example, then he assume that the audience, all the audience, is familiar with the concept of a pump. It is not quite true. What you have to do is you have to define, you have to make a definition what the main point you are going to talk about. So a pump is a kind of mechanical device, for example, used to blah, 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 and so on. So it is the beginning of the presentation of a point. Do not assume that everybody knows what you are talking about. That is the objective of your presentation, to make them familiar with what you are talking about. And the next is make sure that you involve the audience by making rhetoric questions, for example. It means that if necessary, it is not always. You can also ask questions just to make sure that the audience are with you. And to define, you can also use 5 W's and its principal thing: who, when, where, what, why, and how, to describe the point. This is just a repetition. Repetition what I have said before. One of the language function is to accompany actions. So you have to accompany your actions in your presentation during the presentation. For example, if you are going to show the first slide, for example, in my first slide I'll show you, for example. So you have to, what is in bahasa Indonesia itu, mengiringi, mengiringi, to accompany. Jangan hanya menampilkan slide, gambar apapun, without being accompanied with your language. Now let's take a look at the first slide. Now I'll show you the diagram of. Let me show you the first picture of. As you can see in this picture, and so on. This diagram shows that there is a decline. What is it? Pattern of blah blah blah. For example, this slide gives information about the decrease of number of cases of coronavirus 19 disease in Indonesia. Yeah, this is the expressions here are used to accompany your action in your presentation. And providing examples are also, this is your action of providing examples should be accompanied with your expressions. Giving examples is a good way of giving explanation in a simple and easy way. So sometimes a difficult concept is difficult to describe in words. But by giving an example, then it is easier for you to describe what you mean actually. And giving examples can lead the audience to the understanding of the point more easily. Yeah, of course. Yeah. And some expression below can be used to give example. For example, for instance, yeah, let me give you an example. Yeah. Please look at this example. So these are still the expression that might be useful for you to accompany your action during your presentation. Yeah, this is summing up the next point. Yeah, make a transition. This is what I told you before, that this is a kind of signaling your presentation. This is a kind of signaling, to give a signal. As I have explained to you, the first main point concerns with blah, blah, blah. This is a summing. Yeah. And then, to sum up, I think there are blah, blah, blah. This is summarizing just in short words, in short explanation about what you have explained so far. Then this is important. This is what we call signaling what you are going to do next. Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, yeah. Now let us move on to the second point about. Do not say, now let us move on to the second point. No, it has a different meaning. Yeah? Now let us move on to the second point of my presentation about, do not say, now let us move on to the second point. It means something different. Move on to the second point. Yeah. And then concluding your talk. Yeah. This is a signal to the end. The presentation is going to come to the end, for example. Yeah. Summarize the talk and then conclude the talk and give recommendation if necessary and close the presentation. How we can do that? Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of the presentation. This is just like a driver is slowing down the speed of the car or the bus. Then you are ready to stop somewhere. So this is giving the do not stop abruptly, suddenly without giving a signal. Yeah. That completes my presentation, and I think that's all. And I think that's the end of my presentation. Please do not use bahasa Indonesia in English. Yeah. Translate it in English. For example, I think that's enough. I think that's enough is just like an English expression, but it is not. It is bahasa Indonesia. Ini terjemahan dari saya kira cukup sekian. Nah, gitu ya. Maka dalam bahasa Inggris bagi pemula mengatakan I think that's enough. That's enough is not English. It is bahasa Indonesia. So what you have, what you can use are this one. Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of the presentation, or you can say that completes my presentation, or I think that's all. I think that's all I would like to say. And I think that's the end of my presentation. Yeah. Yeah. Then the last here is closing the presentation. I use these two arrows with different direction because you may invite question first or comments and then close your presentation, or you can close your presentation and then you invite question from audience. Yeah, like in this on this occasion, for example, the moderators asked me to complete my presentation first, and then there will be sessions for asking and answering questions. So uh, these are the closing and can say thank you for attention or thank or just thank you. And you can give greeting, closing greeting, salam. Yeah. So it can be interchangeably. Yeah. You can use this first or this one first. And inviting questions or comments, I would be glad to answer any questions from you. Or if you have any question, I'll be happy to answer them. And any questions? Yeah, it's very simple. As we have heard in some occasion of presentation. Yeah, I think that's all, Mr. Moderator and audience. Thank you for listening. I hope that you are all listening to me. And I give the time back to the moderator. Maybe you have some questions. You just feel free to ask questions.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Tono, for the presentation. Okay, so what we usually found while having presentation in class, some close by our friends, by will say to closing, and what you are suggesting for us so we can handle that and we can avoid that kind of behavior, because sometimes it typically starting in our learning activity when we have to read the whole thing.
Excuse me, your voice is not quite clear. Maybe the signal is not good over there.
Sorry, is it clear right now?
Yeah, better, a bit better.
Oh, sure. Okay, I repeat my question. Some while we are having presentation in class, or when our friends presenting their ideas, sometimes we found text. Of course, it will take plenty of time
It's
to
not clear.
do the whole thing.
It's not quite clear.
Okay.
Who is the questioner? Maybe can directly ask the questions. Yeah. You can just ask the person questioning this question or asking this question. Because the signal
Sure.
over there is not quite good, I think.
Excuse me, Pak.
Yeah, Mas Danang.
Ya, Pak. Good morning, Pak.
Morning. Can you show me your video? Nah. Good morning,
Pak.
Mas Danang. Yeah.
Good morning, Pak. Thank you for your sharing on the presentation. I have no question. If we want to insert the video into a slide, what is the ideal number of the videos, and how long should be the maximum duration of the videos which insert on the slide?
Yeah.
Thank you,
That
Pak.
your questions, yeah, Mas Danang.
Yes, Pak.
Again, that of course, if you are invited to give a presentation, then you are given a period of time, right, Mas Danang?
Yeah.
For example, Pak Danang, tomorrow I invite you to give a presentation in this occasion, for example. You have to ask the question: how much time you give me to give a presentation. Yeah. For example,
Yeah.
one hour, for example. 1 hour is including question and answer session. For example, it means that you have around 45 minutes to
Yeah.
present your message, your information. So you can, of course, make kind of calculation. So how many videos I can insert to my presentation and how long the video should be, for example. Then it depends on, like when before you give a presentation, you have to design, design the content and then the design and so on. You have to calculate. That is why a good presenter will make a kind of rehearsal. Yeah, rehearsal means you do it before the actual scene, for the actual presentation. So you have to, if somebody is not, professional presenter yet, so that we can try to measure how much time I need to give this presentation, including this video and so on. If it is too long, then compared to the time you are given, then you have to adjust. Maybe you have to drop some videos or one of them, for example. So we cannot say that you have to insert 3 videos or 2 videos and so on. Yeah, depending on the calculation of the time as a presenter, you plan your presentation will be going. Yeah, I think that's Mas Dana.
Okay, thank you,
Yeah.
Pak.
You're welcome. Another place? Yeah, just feel free. Yeah. The second question, Mas Pradito, from who?
This is from the chat.
From the chat. Yeah. I mean, you can ask
Okay.
the writer. Yeah.
From Baiti Hotima.
Yeah.
She asked,
Please,
may we have the
Mbak
slide
Baiti.
of the presentation? Okay.
Mbak Baiti is invited to speak. Please, you can just unmute and.
Oh no, he's asking for the slide presentation. So we have the question from participant from Mr. Triwarchono.
Oh, Pak Triwarchono. What needs to be prepared before making a presentation?
Yes.
Yeah. Pak Chon, where are you? Can you show me yourself? Yeah, it's my fellow lecturers. Yeah. What need to be prepared before making a presentation? Of course, uh, yeah. So of course, again, that this is the things that you have to think about, before you deliver a presentation. When you are developing the materials of your presentation, you have to consider or to think in your mind about the content, and then the design, the visual support, and then context, whether the situation will be formal or less formal. And then you yourself, the presenter, should be equipped with sufficient skills of the language, of course. And please do not just read the slides, in making a presentation. You have to speak, not to read. If you read, then you will just face the screen or maybe the screen of the monitor throughout the presentation, and your audience will be just ignored or neglected. And then the audience, you have to think, Pak John, please give a presentation to audience like this, for example. So, oh yeah, usianya berapa ya? Well, the age range-nya berapa? Whether I have to speak to young people or elder people and so on. Message and so on. These are the things that you have to consider before making a presentation. Yeah. I think that's the answer to Pak John's questions.
Okay, thank you for the answer, Mr. Sono. Is it
Yeah.
clear for Mr. Triwarchono?
Mm.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Sono.
Okay, yeah, you're welcome, Pak.
Thank you. Next question, Mr. Sono, from Septian Pratama.
Oh, Satyan Pratama.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's
I'd like
asking
to
on
ask
like,
about ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, it's polite to greet
is
our
it
lecture
polite to greet?
and final. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. If you are in a final assignment presentation, then this is what you call. In this kind of situation, you can use just good morning, Bapak Ibu. It's also possible because it is or good morning, examiners, for example. Yeah, this is just to not supervisor, supervisor, but this is the examiner. Yeah, examiner means penguji ya. Yang dimaksud itu kan ya. In a class, or not only class, but in a session of examination, you can also say, good morning, Bapak Ibu. Yeah, it is also possible. Yeah, in this kind of situation in Indonesia. Actually, they are examiners. Yeah, Mas Pradipya. Septian Pratama. Is it clear, Mas Septian? Yeah, I know that.
Thank you, Pak.
Yeah, because in what is it? Presenting your thesis, you have to use English. Yeah, you have to use English, and you can say, "Good morning, Ibu." It can be possible. Yeah. If there are no ladies inside, then do not say good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Ya, nanti orang ada yang tersinggung. Ini siapa yang wanita ini ya? Ya, for example. So you have to be careful. Oh, kata Pak Sono rumusnya ladies and gentlemen ya. Jadi pokoknya di dalam situasi apapun ladies and gentlemen. Tidak ada gentleman-nya juga ladies and gentlemen. Nah, maka you have to be what is it appropriate. You have to use the language appropriately in accordance with the situation or the situation. I mean the context. The next question is from
Bu Yunani, Pak.
Bu Yunani. So is it a presenter? Sound factor also affects the audience or just from the beauty factor? And what about the sound that is less good? Not yet chat. Yes. Okay. Yeah. This is what we call impediment. Yeah. Impediment means this is factors that affects the success or the effectiveness of a presentation. Like the communication just now we had with Mas Pradipya, for example, was distracted by kind of not quite bad connection, signal connection, so that it is not quite clear. Yeah. This is also a factor that affects the success of communication. Not only in what is called online communication like this, even in a real or in live communication, in a classroom, for example, when somebody is giving a presentation, and just outside the room, there are many people talking quite loudly, then it will also contribute to the success of the presentation. It will disturb the presentation inside the room. It's just like when students of level 4, for example, giving a presentation on the thesis, for example, and his friends outside were yelling, for example, talking loudly, and horse playing, for example, then of course it will disturb the examination inside the examination room. Yeah, Bu Yunani. So make sure that what is it, distractor, noise, and so on should be minimized to improve the success of the presentation. Other questions?
Other question from participants? Okay, sir. If no more question, I'd like to ask something. During
Yeah, actually, this training is not only what is it, kind of presenting the theory of a presentation or tips of presentation, but it should be actually followed by a kind of trial, a kind of role play, for example. Yeah. So maybe some of the audience, would like to try how to open a presentation by using the what's it, the expressions that I have introduced to them. It will be better actually if you try to give kind of presentation, like how to open a presentation or to close a presentation or to make us just a kind of transition. Yeah, from to Sylvia, Mbak Sylvia. During class presentation, oftentimes we find a block of text. Yeah, a block of text. Of course, it would take plenty of time for the audience to read the whole thing. Yeah. What can we do to deal with this so we can avoid this kind of behavior? Yeah, a block of text means that the slide has too much information. Yeah. So if you make a slide, it doesn't mean that you have to write everything. What you have to do is to write the main points, the key points of the presentation, of the information, so that the other parts of the text should be explained in spoken language by the presenter. Yeah. So do not please give the text, the written text to the audience. That is why I told you that presenting is different from reading text. Yeah. You have to use your spoken language, not the written language that is spoken. Yeah. So you do not read, but you speak. Yeah, yeah, I think that's it to Mbak Sylvia.
Thank you.
Yeah. Next is from Dr. Septa. If the participant is older or senior than the presenter, but at the time the participant is bored or does not concentrate, can we give ice breaking to get the spirit back? How do we deliver it? Yeah. I think I have just noted during my explanation that normally, if there is no shifting of situation, somebody will stay alert, will stay concentrated to listen to a presenter, to listen to somebody talking for more or less 15 minutes. If you are using a kind of monotonous tone, then after about 15 minutes, the audience, some of the audience will start, what is it, being sleepy, or even falling asleep. Yeah, it is possible. Yeah. Because when somebody is idle, for example, no physical or what is it, mind activities, then it is very possible for somebody to feel sleepy and then fall asleep. That is why after about 10 minutes, you have to what is it? In a direct communication in a presentation, I think it is easier for us to control this situation. Maybe you can just talk about something happening in the room, for example, just close to the context, for example. Talking about somebody in the room, for example, or talking about something still related. You can make joke too, yeah. But remember that the joke must be selected. Yeah, should be careful in selecting the joke to be presented. Just to break the ice. Yeah, ice here is being idle and sleepy, and then the participant will go up again. Yeah, so it's just like a maintenance program schedule of automobiles, for example. After 5,000 kilometers trip, then you have to tune up. Yeah, this is a kind of tuning up the situation in your presentation. Yeah. Did it answer your questions, Mas Septa?
Okay, clear, Mr. Sono. It's clear. Thank you.
Welcome. Any other questions? Just feel free to raise your hands. We still have ample time. Yeah, if you need, for example, if you need to the PowerPoint of the presentation from me, then just feel free. I will give it to the moderator, and moderator will distribute to everybody. Mas Praditya, the problem
Yes, sir.
we are facing while doing presentation is to deal with nervous. What's your advice to us so somebody we can get used to it and able to get to have great presentation? Yeah, because like I told you at the beginning that presentation is kind of skill. Yeah. So skill should be trained. Yeah. So skill is gained through training. Yeah. You do it again and again. Yeah. And your being nervous will be decreasing and decreasing. Yeah. Sometimes when you are holding, what is it, laser pointer, right? When you are nervous, then you just point the screen, for example, with your pointer, and it will be, what's it, vibrating. So my tips is that you just what is it? Put your hand here holding the pointer close to your body, yeah, attached to your body, so that the vibration because of being nervous will be stopped by your body, so that the pointer will not be vibrating too much on the screen. Yeah. Vibrating too much on the screen indicates that the speaker is nervous. Ya, nah, jadi istilahnya kalau dalam ilmu permesinan itu vibrasi itu bisa diabsorb gitu ya. Yang absorb apa? Ya, tangan kita dipepetkan ke badan kita sehingga badan kita akan menyerap absorpsi, mengabsorb dari vibrasi yang dihasilkan oleh tangan yang gemetar tadi ya. Sehingga pegoyangannya di mana di screen itu tidak. And again one tip, if you are giving a presentation and you need to point at the screen or the whiteboard, yeah, sometimes you have to write on the whiteboard, for example, to support your explanation or your example, for example. Please do not use your fingertip. Please do not use your fingertip. Use something like a board marker, for example, or can be a ballpoint like this, or can be a short stick, but do not use your finger to point at the screen or to point at the board in front of you. Please use something like a ballpoint or pencil or a board marker. Yeah, this is an important tip for making a presentation. Yeah. Next is sometimes after the presentation that we presented, there will be some question that we don't know the answer, or we know the answer but still don't know yet how to explain in English. Are there any tips or to deal with this kind? Ya, ya ini Bu Sylvia. Ya. Actually, in my slides there is the slide dealing with this problem. Yeah. Let me show you again. This is steps in dealing with questions. Yeah. Clarifying the questions if necessary, and then checking the answers, using appropriate strategies for difficult questions, and ending question and answer session. Nah, ini tahapnya Bu Sylvia ini. Sometimes if you are given a sudden question that is quite difficult, so then you need time to think, to process the information inside your mind. By clarifying, clarifying is talking to the person questioning or giving the question to you while you are making or processing the organization of ideas in your mind. You can say, sorry, could you speak louder if it's not clear, for example. Yeah. Or you can say, sorry, I couldn't catch the point. Could you say that again? Yeah. But don't say, sorry, I don't know what you mean. I don't know what you mean is in an insulting expression. Maaf, saya tidak tahu maksudmu. Ini adalah insulting statement. Do not use this expression. Dalam bahasa Indonesia, kamu itu tanya apa? Itu sama dengan seperti itu ya. Do not say, sorry, I don't know what you mean. Yeah. But you can say, sorry, could you? I couldn't catch the point. Could you say that again? Yeah. Or rephrasing the questions by what you call it? Buying the time. Yeah. This is what we call buying the time. Jadi agak mengulur waktu supaya kita punya waktu untuk berpikir, mengorganisasi ide di dalam otak kita. Nah, setelah itu baru masuk ke jawaban, asking for the question for clarification dan seterusnya. Nah, ini ekspresi-ekspresi yang dimaksud dengan Bu Sylvia setelah ini. Nah, ini bisa you can use some of the expressions here. You can delay the answer. Yeah. That's a good question, but perhaps we could deal with that later. Yeah, can be if it is possible. Yeah. Or we can say, sorry, could we discuss that later after the presentation? Yeah, it is if it is possible. Yeah. Or I'm not sure this is the right time to discuss that matter. If we can have a separate session to talk about it. Yeah. Or not giving the answer, but it is not recommended. Yeah. I'm sorry, I don't know the answer. As far as possible, do not use this, because it means that you are not quite qualified presenter as expected by the presenter. But you can also say, I'm afraid that's not my expertise. Yeah. Or you can say, I'm afraid I'm not the right person to answer that question if it is related to the policy of your company, that you do not have the right to answer the question. Or asking the floor, yeah. I'm afraid I'm not the right person to answer that question. Perhaps somebody can answer the questions. It is very possible, yeah. But by using your body language so that you can indicate that you are still doing something, yeah, not surrendering or not giving up. Yeah, I think that's Mbak Sylvia. There are some expressions like this, and it is recommended.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. You're welcome. Any other questions?
For the participants. Yeah. He asked me my dad, and he asked, "Is it okay to ask the question? Is it okay to ask people to repeat their question again if we do not understand what they means?"
Yeah. Who is questioning?
Somebody asked me privately here.
Oh yeah. So what is the question?
So the question is it okay for us to ask people to repeat their question again if we do not understand or in we do not catch what just they try to deliver?
Yeah. It just I told you here. This one. It is possible for you to ask the person or the person giving the question to ask the question again. Sorry, could you speak louder, please? Yeah, it is also possible. Yeah, so you can interrupt. Yeah, interrupt the questioner when somebody is still asking the question, and then you can interrupt while the person who is still talking, giving a question. Sorry, could you speak louder, please? Yeah, for example, or I'm sorry, I couldn't catch the point. Could you say that again, please? Yeah, it's just asking the person to repeat the question. Yeah. Or maybe you can rephrase the question. Rephrase the question means to say the questions in a different construction, in a different sentence, but the meaning is the same. Yeah, is your question about blah 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 blah? For example, are you asking about the number of people who died because of coronavirus disease, for example? So your question is, this is repeating or rephrasing the question. Or you can also say, asking further questions for clarification. For example, if Pak Sono, can you explain to me again the point about blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And then I ask you, sorry, which slide are you talking about? Yeah, for example. So it is possible for you to ask the questioner to repeat the question. Even in an examination, for example, ujian, skripsi, tesis misalnya. Apabila dimungkinkan, Anda bisa juga mohon maaf, can you what is it, repeat your question, for example. Yeah, it is very possible, yeah, but use the better way to ask the questioner to repeat the question. Yeah. And the last is, not the last, the next is the question from Zaki. Yeah. In a presentation slide, how many lines or points should we draw to attract participants? Are 7 items still relatively good? Yeah. Again, yeah, that we are talking about the font size. Yeah, font size. Yeah, font size means that, for example, this is the font size is 20, for example. So 20 here is quite big enough for the participants to read. Yeah. So it doesn't concern with the number of lines, I think, but whether your text is still visible, quite clear to read by the audience or not. And then again, do not write the whole text in your slide, but you have to put the main points, and the rest of the information should be explained by the speaker, by the presenter, not asking the audience to read the slide. Yeah, this is, I think this is the, what is it, the point, Pak Zaki. So 7 items still relatively good. Yeah, I think it is depending on how long the points are. Yeah, depending on that. If you make 7 points, but the points are expressed in a short construction of sentence, then it is okay. The next is from Bu Nurma. Yeah. One more question. The level of participant acceptance of material presented can vary. How to overcome this? Yeah. One of the material we presented can be vary. How to overcome this? Yeah. Yeah, that is why before you, what is it, you give the presentation, you have to make sure what kind of audience you are going to have. Yeah. So it is important. Yeah. If the audience are varied in terms of the level of knowledge, then you have to use the medium level of complexity of the concept. Yeah. So a good presenter will be able to put, what is it, the level of complexity of the message you are going to deliver. Do not talk too high in level of complexity. And again, that the role or the function of the presenter is to make complex message, complex information to be more simple or simpler, yeah, so that everybody can, accept, yeah, or understand the material. Yeah. Practice will make you perfect, Bu Nurma, so that, oh, I think we have to talk about this in this mood, for example, so that everybody can catch the. And I know that in a situation, for example, some students, for example, are quite intelligent, and some others are quite low. So it is quite difficult for us. So that what we usually do is that by giving extra, if it is about teaching, extra exercises, for example, to the students who are higher in level than the rest of the students. Mas Fakih, what kind of property we can bring during the presentation? Yeah, and it is very, what is it? Interesting questions. It's a good question. Property here is, yeah, of course, you have sometimes in a presentation, you are invited to give a presentation in which all the properties are provided by the organizer, for example. So you do not need to bring with you laptop, computer, for example. You do not have to bring with you the laser pointer, for example. You do not have to bring with you some other things needed for the presentation, because all of them are provided by the organizer. But for safety, I think it is advisable that you have to bring with you what you are familiar to operate, especially when you are not a professional presenter yet. Yeah, still in the process of being a professional presenter. Yeah. Yeah, you can just think about this. But in my opinion, yeah, like what is it? Laser pointer equipped with Bluetooth connection to the computer is quite advisable to bring with you. Otherwise, if you are not familiar with something quite new and then you are not confident enough, then this type of property will contribute to the increase of being nervous, yeah, for example. So if possible, use something that you are familiar with to use, then it will contribute to the smooth and successful or is it successful presentation, yeah, so that you do not need to think about it during the presentation, yeah. Sometimes when a kind of property you are not familiar with, then it will give a kind of a bit stress to the presenter. I think that's Mas Fakih. Any other questions?
I would like to ask a question, sir.
Yeah, please.
What will be the maximum time that will be the best to present a presentation for the audience? Maybe it will be too long, will be not good, or too short, also not good enough. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for. This is a good question too. Yeah, actually, teaching is also a type of presentation, but it is different in nature. Yeah, because we have uh, to cover a lot of materials. Yeah. But in a normal situation, yeah, normal context of the real presentation, usually time allotment for a presenter is more or less 30 minutes. More than 30 minutes is too long. Yeah, otherwise the audience will get bored, for example. Yeah. Except when you, what is it, mixed with a video presentation and so on and so on. Yeah, but if it is a kind of talk, then 30 minutes is it is a kind of the longest period of time for presentation. Yeah. The best way is about 20 minutes. Yeah. 20 minutes is good if you can compact the information in a good composition and good speed, not too fast but not too slow, in about 20 minutes. So 20 minutes is ideal time. Like I told Septa before that normally people will stay concentrated in more or less 15 minutes. And after that, if there is no shifting of situation, atmosphere, then audience will start to be sleepy because they are idle for about 15 minutes, and some of them will start to be yawning. You know, yawning, mulai menguap, menguap. And yawning is what is it? It can be transferred to other people around him, around her. This is just a suggestion. Yeah, it is a suggestion, but experiments prove that it is true. Yeah, yeah. That is why 20 is ideal and a maximum of 30 minutes. Yeah. More than that, then it is too long. But it is different from teaching. Teaching can be 2 hours, because we can combine with other activities, doing exercises and so on. Yeah, like the presentation today, I think some of you are starting to be sleepy. Huh? Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Sono.
Mhm.
From the participants again.
Yeah. Maybe we can give 5 more minutes or 10 more minutes if there are no more questions, and we can end our session, Mas Pradik. Yeah.
Sure, sir. Okay, so I have a question. Is my voice clear there?
Yeah, quite clear now. Yeah. Where are you actually now, Mas Pradik? Yeah. At
I'm in
Piatra?
Semarang, Mister.
Oh, I
No,
see.
I'm in Semarang.
Oh, you are in Semarang, so far away from here.
But the weather just distract the signal
Oh,
actually.
I
So
see.
here is
Yeah.
my question. Sometimes while we are opening the presentation in Indonesia, we usually say yang terhormat blah blah blah, and then we do not find that in English presentation. And do we have to adjust that kind of behavior where we are delivering in front of Indonesian audience?
Ya, ya. Yang terhormat, ini yang terhormat ini in bahasa Indonesia ya. Ya, I have written a book on this, Mas. Yeah, I have written the book on this, and it is put in the library over there. Yeah, I give a lot of expressions. Yeah, used to say yang terhormat depending on the level of authority of somebody we address to. Yeah, for example, yang terhormat untuk presiden, menteri itu berbeda dengan yang terhormat dengan uh, direktur dan seterusnya. For example, if you say like an MC, for example, Master of Ceremony, addressing in English, if the level is below the minister, then we can say just, for example, Mr. Perry Burhan, Director of Polytechnics of Energy and Mineral Akamigas, itu sudah mengandung pengertian yang terhormat. Ya. Ya. Mr. Perry Burhan, Director of Polytechnics of Energy and Mineral Akamigas, ya. Mr. Rahman Setiawan, Deputy Director of Academic Affairs, for example. Ini sudah mengandung pengertian apa yang terhormat gitu ya. Tapi kalau presiden itu ada misalnya apa? Yang untuk Your Majesty itu untuk raja ya misalnya ya. Oke ya, ada kalau untuk yang terhormat hakim ya excuse me the honor for example. Yeah, depending on the level of the authority of somebody. If you need, then you can just visit the library, and I put maybe more than 25 expressions related to the expression. Yeah.
Sure, sir. And then
Yeah.
again, is it okay for us to open the presentation by giving rhetorical question?
Yeah, I told you before, involving the audience by giving a rhetoric question. Yeah, it is possible.
Yep,
Yeah,
it's possible.
yeah, very possible. It means that you are trying to involve the audience in your presentation. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Sono.
Yeah.
Are there any question else from the participants again?
Mm.
Oh, we don't find any question here.
Yeah.
And okay, Mr. Sono,
Yeah.
would you like to give us any tips or tricks while presenting our idea in front of other people, especially for students? We are presenting the ideas in front of like lectures, and we can deal with some kind of what's the word? Okay, some things like nervous, and then uh, by that nervous, we sometimes can lose every word that already in our brain,
Ah,
and
I
it really
experienced the same
frustrates.
thing.
See, like how to deal with that kind of thing.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. Um, I know that kind of experience. Yeah. In a moment when you are nervous, for example, from home you are well prepared. For example, when you are in front of the examiners, the lecturers, and so on, then you lost everything. Yeah, you lost everything. Yeah. 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 Of course, because being nervous, then the organization of your brain here is not quite good, and it is difficult for you to retrieve information you have prepared before. Yeah. So the best trick is just to calm you down, yourself down, calm yourself down by taking a long breath. Yeah? Taking a long breath. Ya, something like that. Ya, ya, mengambil nafas panjang. Ya, tapi bukan karena kita lagi sedih, bukan. Ya, so we have to take a lot of as much oxygen as possible to provide here to your brain. Yeah. And then of course praying is the best way. I'm a Muslim, so that before giving a presentation in examination, for example, then I have recite Al-Fatihah, for example. Of course, some other people from different religion can be of different way of overcoming that. So that calm yourself down, that you can retrieve information you have prepared. Yeah, that's a mass part. Yeah. And what is it? Rehearsal. Yeah, rehearsal again. Yeah, rehearsal is also important. You know rehearsal, Mas Pradipya?
Yes, sir. Could you
Yeah,
say
rehearsal
something on
means
that?
do it before the actual presentation. Yeah, this is kind of try out. Yeah? Mhm.
Yep.
Not only once, but can be twice or can be 3 times. Yeah. Any other questions? If not, I think it's time for you to close the presentation. And again, to everybody of you, the audience, thank you very much for listening, and thank you very much for attending this training with me. And of course, I do apologize for anything that is not quite appropriate, and I'll see you again in another time. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam
Salam.
warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay.
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you, Pak.
Pak Sono.
So for the explanation, we'll thank you a lot, and thank you also for the participants for joining us today, and also to all and see you in other session, and goodbye.
Yeah, goodbye.
Thank you, Mas Padita.
And if somebody needs the slides of this presentation, would like to via email, and the host will deliver it to you guys. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the presentation material. It will be sent to the email of the participant that already be that already present here
Yeah,
by email.
I will share with you, Mbak Sylvia.
Okay, thank you. And once again, thank you for the audience who already come for this training, and also thanks a lot for Mr. Sono for the sharing of the knowledge today.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
I, as a committee for this training, sorry for the technical issue that happens today. Hopefully next time we can help us next training, maybe for the same topics or the advanced topic for this for the presentation, making presentation. Maybe that's all. Also, thanks a lot for Mr. Pradipta as the moderator.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Miss.
I'll see you. Bye-bye.
Mohon izin ini saya end ya meetingnya. Sekali lagi terima kasih untuk semuanya. Materi akan dikirimkan via email melalui email masing-masing peserta yang sudah hadir pada bimtek kali ini. Terima kasih. Saya akhiri sebagai host. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.